Hi, and welcome to North of 48. It is October the 4th, soon to be October the 5th. Look up and see that moon in the sky. It's getting bigger. Soon we'll have a full moon. We're seeing the Aurora Borealis now up here in North Canada. We got lights on the horizon, so if you look up and you see the lights, I'm looking at them too. They're quite gorgeous. Sorry about not posting lately. I've a lot on the go. Should be talking about Canada, and maybe I should be talking about my work, but I'm sorry. The war in the Ukraine is really taking my time. Just trying to fathom it all. Welcome to the 224th day of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Here's a few words from Yuri Kochevenko, officer of the 95th Air Assault Brigade in Ukraine. And he is with the Ukraine Air Assault Brigade. And he's standing in a field. He has his phone. He's taking a video for those of you who see this on YouTube. And there's dead Russians lying on the ground behind him. I will translate. I want to address the Russians now and just ask, what were you coming here for? We are on our own land. Our families are behind our backs. We are fighting for our future and our freedom, and we will never give up. You couldn't do anything to us with all your rockets, airplanes, ships, thousands of tanks of your so-called professional army. Do you really think that the throngs of poorly trained, poorly armed, so-called mobilized that your crazy dictator will send here to die will be able to change anything after we've been beating up your regular army for 7 months? You don't have a single chance. All you can count on is becoming fertilizer for Ukrainian soil, just like this. You really want this land? Well, you remain in it. Isn't it amazing all the Baltic countries and Poland and Lithuania, these countries that have been under Soviet dominance before, don't want to go back? Or they're either part of NATO or they're supplying weapons to Ukraine to fight off the Russians. Here's Prime Minister Kaja Kallas of Estonia.
This is a totally new perspective. They are threatening with nuclear weapons. There has to be a very strong response. If this pays off, then they will use it again and again, because this pays off and we say that, okay, now we are afraid and now we do what you say. You don't negotiate with terrorists, and terrorism is to terrorize us, to make different decisions, not help Ukraine, not make the decisions that we would otherwise make because we are afraid.
That was courtesy of the BBC. Since the Russia has announced the mobilization of 350,000 troops, new troops, young troops, old troops, to come into the war in Ukraine, there has been, according to Ukrainsky Pravda, as of Tuesday, October 4th, about 700,000 people have left Russia in 2 weeks of mobilization. The source is Forbes, and Forbes cites multiple sources, and according to one source, almost 1 million people have left Russia since the beginning of the mobilization. The second source in the administration of the president of the Russian Federation reports that between 600,000 and 700,000 Russians have left the country. The source emphasized that it is not yet clear what percentage of people left the country as tourists. According to Forbes, the media previously cited the figure of 194,000 Russians who left for Georgia, Kazakhstan, and Finland in the week after the announcement of mobilization. At the beginning of September, even before the announcement of partial mobilization, The Statistics Service of Russia stated that 419,000 people had left the Russian Federation in the first half of 2022, twice as many as the same period of the previous year. The Internal Affairs of the Republic of Kazakhstan reported on October 4th that 200,000 Russians have entered the country since September the 21st, and 147,000 Russians have left it during that period. The Ministry of Internal Affairs of Georgia reported that 53,000 Russians came to the country in a week, and 10,000 people crossed the border every day, which is 45% more than before September 21st, the day of the call-up order from Vladimir Putin. At the end of September, the flow of Russians on the border with Georgia decreased. In 1 week, 66,000 Russians entered the European Union, which is 30% more than a week earlier. So the Russians are not only leaving home, they're apparently retreating from the front lines towards Crimea. Here's some words from a pro-Russian blogger. He says, the withdrawal continues. Apparently, the goal of the command of the group is to reduce the front line, at least to the state of creating a continuous front line covering Berislav, writes I. Strelkov. That is the author's name. On the other side of the left bank bridgehead of the Dnieper, during the breakthrough from the right bank of the Dnieper River, our artillery will also be able to support the defending troops. Our people urgently need reinforcements, primarily with heavy equipment. At this time, tanks, infantry, fighting vehicles, and other equipment are going to Crimea, and the mobilized units are preparing at the training grounds. It is necessary to hold the front. I don't think they're going to be able to hold the front. Reports have it that the Ukrainians in army, in men, in tanks, in assault vehicles are superior in numbers. If you were looking on the news today on TV or in videos, you could see that the Russians are pulling back. They're trying to maintain a presence in the Kherson region. However, the Ukrainians are really, really on a roll, and they are pushing the Russians back. I have opinions on how far back they're going to be pushed, but I do not doubt we'll be talking soon about the Russian defense of the Crimea and the Ukrainians coming in to try to take it. I think that's where the war is now, and I believe that's where the war is going.